not recording, are you?
Hello. I'm Pao, and in this video, I'm bringing you a really interesting case that a lot of you have been asking me for lately. It's the case of Tawnee and Victoria Mendoza. I think it recently became popular on TikTok, which is why so many of you have been requesting it, so here it is. It took me a while to research all the information, but I hope you enjoy it. This case takes place in a small town called Holiday, near Salt Lake City, Utah, United States. It's a very peaceful place, perfect for raising a family because it's very safe. Tawnee was always a very friendly, cheerful, kind, and social person. Her family says she had the biggest heart and was always helping others. Everyone loved her. She was popular, had lots of friends, and had a natural leader's personality. She was very confident, ambitious, smart, and her dream was to be a singer. In June 2010, when Tawnee was 17 years old, she went out with her friends. They were in their friend's car, talking. She was in the back seat, and they started smoking marijuana. That's when the police showed up and pulled them out of the car. The police started searching inside the car to see if they could find any substances, weapons, or anything suspicious. Even though Tawnee had hidden the substance under one of the car seats, the police managed to find it. And when they asked her whose drugs those were, Tawnee decided to take the blame. She said they belonged to her, that her friends weren't doing anything. She did this because her friends were already adults. So if they got arrested, they would go to prison, while if she got arrested, she'd only go to juvenile detention. Tawnee was arrested for possession of substances and sentenced to 90 days in juvenile detention. Tawnee was terrified, and so was her family, who said she was very small and defenseless. They were afraid that something bad might happen to her inside the detention center, especially because there were other girls serving longer sentences for crimes much more serious than the one Tawnee committed. It was hard for her at first to get used to being in this new place, but since Tawnee was very friendly and outgoing, she soon made friends. One in particular was named Victoria Mendoza. Not long after they met, they became inseparable. Victoria was a troubled girl and had been in juvenile detention before, for crimes like assault, theft, and others. Victoria's problems began when she was a little girl, specifically after her father took his own life when she was just 10 years old. After that, she decided to run away from home. She didn't like being there, so she decided to live on the streets and started committing crimes. Victoria's family was poor. They lived in a marginalized and violent area. Her family were immigrants. Her parents were Mexican, which made Victoria's and her family's situation even harder. Tawnee and Victoria became very close friends. Something that really brought them together was their love for music, since both of them wrote songs and wanted to be singers. When Tawnee had been at the reformatory for a month, she started a romantic relationship with Victoria. Around that time, Victoria received some devastating news. Her mother wrote her a letter telling her that she had breast cancer, and it was very advanced. Even though Victoria and her mother weren't close, this news was very hard for her. But luckily, she had Tawnee, who supported her a lot, especially during such difficult times. During one of Tawnee's mom's visits to the reformatory, her daughter tells her that she wants to introduce someone very special to her, Victoria, and confesses that she's gay. Her mother supported her completely. When Tawnee finishes her sentence and is released, she tells Victoria that she'll wait for her. There was about a month left before Victoria would also get out of the reformatory, and as a farewell, she wanted to write a letter to Tawnee. But she tells her not to read it until she's out of the reformatory. The letter said, "If you sleep with anyone else, I'll have to kill you. I'm serious. With all my love. B." In September 2010, when Victoria gets out of the reformatory, Tawnee and Tawnee's father pick her up to take her home. Victoria would stay with Tawnee's family for a while because of her difficult family situation. Tawnee's mom was really supportive of her. Not only were they letting her live with them, but her mom specifically helped her a lot. She helped her with her homework, with her studies, finding a job, and in general, she was very fond of her. Meanwhile, her father didn't trust her. Tawnee also introduced her to her friends, and they all hung out together all the time. All her friends liked her. Victoria, especially one of her friends named Kim. She started getting really close to Victoria, which made Tawnee jealous, but she never mentioned it because she trusted her girlfriend and her friends. Tawnee loved taking pictures and posting them on social media. It looked like she had an amazing lifestyle. She posted photos of herself, her relationship, which seemed perfect, and of parties and friends. But in real life, her life and her relationship weren't as great as they seemed. Tawnee was always very social, really friendly, so she had a lot of friends, which Victoria didn't like because she was very jealous. On top of that, they started having other problems because they were really codependent. They were together all the time. They lived together, spent time with the same family, hung out with the same people, their friends, they always went out together. Basically, they were never alone. Victoria even took Tawnee to her house to visit her mother. The house was in Ogden, Utah, a city 48 kilometers from where Tawnee lived. Even though the cities were relatively close, they were very different areas. Ogden was full of gangs and crime. The apartment where Tawnee's family lived was very small. It only had one bedroom. They were very poor, which made her mother's illness even harder because they didn't have money for treatments. On this trip or during this visit, Tawnee was a huge support for Victoria. It was something she really needed because it was so painful for her to see her mother in such a delicate situation. That same night, since they were in Victoria City, she took her girlfriend to a bar so she could meet her friends. However, Tawnee wasn't having a very good time. She didn't feel comfortable in that environment. It was very different from what she was used to. On top of that, Victoria was ignoring her because she was with her friends. And that's how it went for most of the night, until a man approached Tawnee. And when Victoria saw this, she got really jealous and started yelling at the man. She pulled out a knife and threatened him, saying, "That's my girl." You got that? At this point, the relationship between Tawnee and Victoria wasn't going very well. Victoria was very jealous and controlling. She would check Tawnee's messages, go through her social media to see who she was talking to, and overall was very insecure. Because Tawnee had a lot of friends and a lot of people who cared about her. Not long after, the relationship ended because Victoria cheated on Tawnee with her friend Kim. This really hurt Tawnee. It wasn't just the betrayal by her girlfriend, but also by one of her best friends. Victoria didn't want the relationship to end and begged her for a long time to get back together. She even uploaded a video to YouTube apologizing to her.
First I want to say is I'm sorry for hurting you and cheating on you with your best friend. Give me another chance, and I'll do anything I have to do to show her that I can be a better girlfriend.
After this, they had a complicated relationship where they would break up and get back together. In June 2012, unfortunately, Victoria's mother passed away. And once again, Victoria moved in with Tawnee's family, who were supporting her a lot during this time. Losing her mother was so hard. Despite everything, and despite their complicated relationship, Tawnee cared a lot about Victoria and didn't want her to be alone during those moments. That's why they invited her to live with them for this indefinite period. Tawnee's mom also supported Victoria a lot. She really loved her, as if she were another one of her daughters. But she didn't know the truth about Tawnee and Victoria's relationship. As soon as she moved back in, problems and jealousy from Victoria started. On one occasion, Tawnee's mom overheard an argument the girls were having. But when she went to their room to see what was going on, they said it was nothing, even though they were actually yelling at each other really badly. Tawnee's mom wasn't worried because she assumed it was just a little argument, and that's normal in couples. She never thought Victoria would be capable of hurting her daughter. On another occasion, Victoria started to feel jealous again. But this time, when they started arguing, it was different. Victoria hit Tawnee hard in the face. Her mouth started to bleed. Tawnee immediately left and went to tell her friend what had happened, saying, "I thought she was gonna kill me." Victoria was becoming more violent, and Tawnee started to be afraid of her. When Tawnee got home, her mother saw her bleeding from the mouth. It had been a pretty hard hit. Not only was she bleeding on the outside of her lip, but also inside, and one of her teeth was broken. Her mom wanted to call the police as soon as she saw her, but Tawnee told her it wasn't necessary. She lied and didn't say who was responsible. Victoria. She did this because she was trying to protect her. She knew that if she told her mom it was Victoria, she would kick her out of the house. She would call the police, and since Victoria was already an adult, this time she would go to prison, not juvie. Victoria was very manipulative, not just with Tawnee, but with the whole family, and she always managed to get her way. During this time, Tawnee started to change a lot. Before, she pretended that everything was fine, with her friends, her family, and on social media. But after the blow and so many fights with Victoria, Tawnee's personality changed drastically. Now she seemed serious, sad, and down, which was the complete opposite of how she was before she met Victoria. On October 17, 2014, Tawnee's best friend, Lacey, invited the girls to go out with some friends to ease the tension. First, they went to a restaurant for dinner, but the plan was to go to a bar afterward, all together to celebrate and have a good time. However, while they were at the restaurant having dinner, Victoria started acting a little strange. She was very quiet, which was unusual for her. Then she got up to go to the bathroom, where she took a long time. And when she came back, she told Tawnee they should leave because she had to work the next day. Tawnee didn't want to leave because she was having a great time with her friends, but in the end she agreed so she wouldn't argue with Victoria. Tawnee, Lacey, and Victoria left in Tawnee's car, with Tawnee driving. They dropped Lacey off at her house, and then Victoria. She moved to the front seat so they could head home together, too. Lacey mentioned that Victoria was very quiet that day, and overall, the whole situation and atmosphere felt really uncomfortable. She explained that perhaps the tension arose because Tawnee was starting to become much more independent from Victoria's influence. This shift clearly didn't sit well with Victoria at all, primarily because she began to feel a deep sense of unease, as if she were rapidly losing her long-held control over the situation. Then, just a couple of hours later after that conversation took place, an emergency call was placed to 911 by someone on the scene. When the officer arrives at the crime scene, he sees Victoria in the car. Her hands were covered in blood, as was her clothing. She looked very nervous and scared. The officer asks her if she has any weapons with her, and she answers that the knife is inside the car. A paramedic confirmed that Tawnee had passed away. Victoria had moved Tawnee's body to the passenger seat. Originally, she was the one driving, but they started arguing. Again, because of Victoria's jealousy. But this time Tawnee confronted her, telling her, "Why are you so jealous if you were the one who cheated on me with one of my best friends?" This made Victoria extremely angry, and she started stabbing her. Although, according to Victoria, Tawnee was the one who started the physical fight because she slapped her and started pulling her hair. For this reason, she decided to stab her. Afterwards, she moved the body to the passenger seat and drove to a church in Ogden City. When she got to the church, she called her sister Cindy on the phone. She told her, "I just hurt my girlfriend." And she asked her to please come to the church, the one they used to attend when they were kids. When her sister Cindy arrives at the church parking lot, she sees Tawnee's blood-covered body and calls 911. This happened in the early morning hours. Tawnee's parents had no idea any of this was happening. Not until the next morning, around 6 a.m., when her mom got a phone call. It was Lacey, Tawnee's friend. She told her that she was worried because Tawnee wasn't answering her messages, and she was afraid something had happened to her, since there were rumors about it. She told her mom to check her room to see if Tawnee had made it home safely. However, when her mom goes to her room, she realizes Tawnee never came home that night. They also check outside the house and see that the car is gone. She gets really worried and calls Lacey again to ask her what's going on. And Lacey tells her, "I think something really bad happened to Tawnee. I think Vicky did something to her." Victoria was arrested, and she immediately pled guilty, but said it wasn't planned. She said, "I didn't want to kill her, I just wanted to scare her." A little bit. Tawnee was stabbed a total of 46 times, in the chest, face, and neck. At 10 a.m., a police officer goes to Tawnee's house to deliver the tragic news to her parents. Victoria's trial began. She pled guilty and said this:
"I have no excuse for what I've done, that's the main reason why I pled guilty. I really have nothing to say. I'm the wrong, I'm the monster here, so."
Since the crime wasn't premeditated, that is, it wasn't planned, they didn't consider it aggravated homicide. She was sentenced to 16 years to life for taking the life of Tawnee Marie. She is currently serving her sentence at the Utah State Prison. Tawnee's family and friends are devastated, especially her parents. Her father said he wished he had seen the signs and the abuse Victoria inflicted on his daughter. By the way, her father had no idea about the fights between Victoria and his daughter. He thought they had a good relationship because that's what they made it look like. He also didn't know that it was Victoria who was responsible for the blow Tawnee had received to her face, since that time Victoria made up a story about some boys bothering her. And it was Victoria who saved Tawnee from that situation. Sometimes it's hard to see the signs of an abusive relationship because the abuser is manipulative and the victims usually act like everything's fine. Her father said he wished someone had warned him. He wished one of her friends had said something and that this situation could have been prevented. He also said he was very upset because in court they didn't consider it an aggravated crime. And he said this: "I don't see how stabbing my daughter 46 times and leaving her to bleed out wasn't considered aggravated, but that's how things are." Her mom said this about Victoria: "I can't believe it. We loved her. We included her in our family." She used to call me Mom. "We would have done anything for her. I loved her like a daughter. I loved her, and she killed my daughter." It's horrible. Her parents said that something that really bothered them was Victoria's lack of remorse. During the trial, she never looked at them. She covered her face with her hair and never cried or apologized. Her father said, "I wake up every morning and I'm upset. Wow, I have to face this nightmare again, every day." Domestic violence is very serious, and we have to report it. And this is the information about the case. It's a horrible case. I can't imagine all the pain and anger that Tawnee's family and friends are going through. Especially her parents, who opened their home to Victoria, supported her for so long, and in the end, she ended up killing their daughter. As her father mentioned, domestic violence is something very serious, and please report it. If you're going through a similar situation, please end that relationship. I imagine it must be really hard, but seek help. Talk to your family, talk to your friends. Because seriously, there are so many cases like this one where at first it's just small arguments and jealousy, and then it ends with the victim losing their life. So please be very careful.